Okay, Nick Dutch back again. Hi there. I just wanted to clear up a few things in the last video. No, I wasn't taking the piss. I was merely expressing my point of view. And I think it would be a lot better if we all did try and get on as individuals rather than necessarily trying to move into our own little subcultures and just treating our subcultures as being the one true, people. I've mentioned this in a video before that there is this kind of like subcultural mentality that people have. The moment you're in a subculture, whether it's a religious subculture, a class subculture, there's all like the working class people saying we're better, we got better values, the middle class people saying we're better, we got better values, the upper class people saying basically bugger the loss of you, you're all crap. Either way, these are subcultures, okay, and they're defined by fashion, by key buzzwords, by key symbols, by accents, tone of voice, all these kind of like funny little things, okay. Property and possessions, they're also things that sort of mark you in a various different class or culture or whatever it is. And the same thing happens between various different religious groups, whether they're the new religious movement or an older, more traditional, more established religious movement. The fact of the matter is there's an awful lot of similarities between the two of them. Yes, I really am of the opinion that if we just to look objectively at the subcultural mentalities and like try and remove them and look more objectively at what people are really about, what the various groups in the world are really about, then essentially we'll start to see much more in the way of similarities. Especially when we have like the cross-cultural blend of different ideas, such as there is even a form of monotheistic Wicca, for example, monotheistic Wicca, monotheistic Christianity, depending upon who you're talking to and all the rest of that. The fact that there is, as I mentioned in the last video, a crossover between the measure of the hours of the day, which came from Judaism and is now heavily involved in paganism, thanks to, of course, the Liturgy of Solomon and all the rest of that, which shows that essentially paganism has absorbed a lot of the now seldom practiced Jewish traditions, okay, or Jewish ideas. It's bringing stuff back, but these things are not originally pagan. These things are originally Jewish, or these things were Judeo-Christian, okay. And yes, there is a crossover, and yeah, pagans often say things like, we are the original ones. Well, you personally aren't. You were born in the 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s. You know what I mean? You personally aren't. All right. And if you want to say, well, it's my ancestors, then essentially, what are you trying to do? You're trying to be like trying to use your identity as some kind of ethnic political tool or something. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons that people could be using their ideas and their language in these ways. And I think that creating more division in society is actually a bad thing. I mean, I guess this is just where I personally am coming from. Like, I enjoy a good football match, but I try my hardest not to actually support any particular local team, because I know there's lots of animosity between different football teams, for crying out loud sake, which occasionally makes people feel angry just when they're having a conversation with somebody for basically no real reason. Alright, that's the way I see it, I mean, I can enjoy an England versus Germany football match, and yeah, I'll be supporting England. But essentially, I could also be watching, Man United versus somebody else, and I probably wouldn't take sides, because that would create more division within my nation the way I see it. When we're communicating on a global level, things are a little different. So instead, you watch your England versus Germany football match, and you don't take sides. You can enjoy it, but you don't take sides. And you can also see that they're enjoying it the same way that you're enjoying it. Okay, so why aren't we going to try and apply that more mature way of thinking to new and old religious paradigms? I mean, I think that will be much more productive for us as a society. No, I'm not taking the piss when I say this. No, I'm actually being honest. I may have misspoken a little in the previous video because I wasn't concentrating on most of my videos. I don't actually watch to make sure they're okay. I just talk straight to the camera and upload it, unless, of course, I'm editing it and I'm putting in that groovy little bit at the beginning of the video to make me look a little more professional. But to the most part, I just don't do that. I sit in front of the camera like I am now, and I just talk. Okay, no script, no nothing. Alright, that's just the way that things are. I might have an idea or two as to what I want to say beforehand. I may have like to crystallize a few of my thoughts, but just to the most part, set the camera up, talk into it, upload the thing straight away, and don't think anything else of it. Because if people like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. And there may be someone who will get something from it, and someone else won't get something from it, and all the rest of that. So, I try my hardest not to worry about that sort of thing. Okay? Now, as far as modern paganism essentially being an extension of, or being still a part of the Judeo-Christian tradition, how is it that you can actually have something which goes completely contrary to Western culture in the Western culture? I don't think you can. I think that there is a subcultural belief or point of view that, yeah, we're all different, we are a subculture, we are different, but the people are still people, all right? You still do the same things, you still work for a living, have friends, have family, engage within the economy through buying and selling and working, and you're a human being who's got points of view and values and the rest of that, and some of which you discuss on the internet and some of which you discuss personally, and you're a human being. Alright? Now there may be some differences in terms of some of the texts which are used, or there may be some differences in terms of the various things which is said by some of the keynote speakers or whatever that you may have within your culture, but then again there'll be other similarities as well. And indeed, some of those things which are said in those various forms of writing are not necessarily agreed to by a lot of other people, and essentially, to the most part, it's just about people within a religious or spiritual paradigm trying to get closer to a concept that they regard as being somehow important or superior or somehow healthy for them. So in that respect, there is no real difference in terms of practical application. All right? I know it's a bit of a controversial viewpoint to say that, hey, we're all human beings really, and we've got a lot more in common than we have which separate us. But I actually think that's the truth, and therefore that's what I'm going to say. And some people might find that a little difficult to hear, because some people may believe too much in the importance of some subcultural divisions, when essentially, these things don't matter. They don't matter too much. And what does matter is trying your hardest to do what's right and carry on learning even more about what you think is right. Maybe getting over a few issues and carrying on growing. And I think that there's room for all of that kind of thinking in all spiritual and religious paradigms, so long as, you just sort of take away some of the aggressive dogmatism. Right? And I'd even go one step further, and I'd say that there's probably an awful lot more transdeism within Jewish, Christian, pagan, and Islamic, and all the other denominations than you might want to think, which means there's even more of a blurring of the boundaries. And if you carry on analysing it far enough, you'll eventually see that there's very few boundaries. And that, to the most part, we are all one. Provided, of course, that we relax. Just a little. Then everything can be a lot nicer for everybody.